What's going on, good people? Rich here.
What's happening? School in the building.
It's your girl Ray P back on the mic. What's going on, fellas?
Slow
What's
motion,
happening?
man. What's good with you?
Nothing. Everything.
Looking, looking great.
Life's good.
Yeah,
Yes,
I said that before we recorded. Rachel looking all good.
Oh,
yeah, buddy.
yeah.
Hey, but shout out to everybody listening. Welcome back to another episode of the Culture Garden Podcast. We appreciate y'all for tuning in, continuing to grow with us. Thank you, Vic. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Can't
Thank
do
you.
any of this without y'all. With that being said, we are here for another week. We got a new episode. I do want to make sure I remind y'all about the We Got Y'all feed, television mainly, where we do for the Culture Garden podcast. There is a show we're about to start covering. We'll have an episode for you this week. Until then, you can find some back episodes of stuff we've done. We're going to be using that feed throughout the year, so please subscribe to it. Also, before we get into today's episode, there will be spoilers and explicit content. I always forget to say that at the beginning. I put it in my notes this week. If you haven't seen this movie, which is, you know what? Take the spoiler alert out. This movie came out in 1990. If
Period.
you listen, like you just missed out. Certain things got a statute of limitation. The one week I do remember to say spoiler alerts. It's about a movie that came out when we was very, very young, not even
Yeah.
like knowing what's what. That film is Mo Better Blues.
Ooh.
Mo
Yeah.
Better Blues. The synopsis of the film: jazz trumpeter Bleak Gilliam makes questionable decisions in his professional and romantic lives. Rachel,
Yes.
as anybody, if anybody doesn't or people don't know, we rotate our movies as far as selection. You know, last week was School Weeks. This week was Rachel. We had a couple different movies that were thrown out by Rachel last week and say, you know, I'm gonna hit y'all up in the morning. It's gonna be one of these two. We hit her up in the morning. It was neither one. We hit her with the Mo Better Blues. Hit us with the Mo Better Blues. Now, I know Rachel, and I know if you know Rachel for real, she loves live music.
Love.
Loves it.
Mhm.
Like one of her things. Get into why you chose it to talk about this movie today.
That's it. So you prefaced it. So the other two movies I won't disclose because we'll definitely do them
Yeah.
in the future. But
Absolutely.
I don't know. It just wasn't curling all the way over in my spirit. And I really wanted to hit a Spike Lee joint.
Yeah.
And I wrestled actually with the one that was on the block and then
Mhm.
another one that was not Mo Better Blues. And then I was listening to Tidal because I'm a music head and
Mhm.
some Coltrane came on my shuffle and I was like, fuck it. Mo
Mm,
Better Blues. We got to do
yeah.
it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Makes perfect sense. Makes
Yeah,
perfect sense. I'm glad that you chose it for real.
me
I
too.
really am because it wasn't. I remember school's reaction as well. We was both kind of like hype, like, "Oh, okay." Like I
Yeah.
don't think that had been one on the radar, and I guess you could kind of say shame on us. We haven't covered a Spike film yet.
Hmm.
Some of that is selfishly. Some of that is we've had ideas of some. Like there's one in particular I know Rachel really loves, I love, and school loves that we want to talk
Yeah.
about. Not your traditional go-to Black Spike Lee movie, but a very good
Yeah.
Spike Lee movie. Probably
One of the best.
I was just about to say I don't want to get into
Yeah.
rankings because I know we'll have a Spike Lee episode one day, just dedicated to
Absolutely.
him. Where we
Yeah.
kind of rank our
Absolutely.
top 5 movies, but the movie we're speaking of, it's top 3 for me.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
For
This
sure.
for sure, without question, top three.
And I don't even like counting Malcolm X. Like he gets credit for it, but it's such a that's
You can't
so
count Malcolm X,
that's a
bro.
it's a whole different movie. Like
Well,
that's a whole
yeah.
different historical piece, all types of stuff. But
Yeah.
either way, I digress. Um, do you remember your first experience with it, Rachel?
You know what? I absolutely do not. I cannot tell you the first time I watched Mo Better Blues. Obviously, it came out in 1990, so I was 3. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously didn't see it in the theaters. I don't know if this was something that was on VHS and we watched at my cousin's house or what, but once I was of age to remember, I watched this shit all the time on TV. I love, love, love this movie.
Mm.
It's one of my favorite versions of Denzel
Okay.
or Denzel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes is still fine as hell in 1990, looking good. I just love this shit. Great cast. The acting is on point. The story, tale as old as time. If you've ever dealt with a musician, you know that those niggas are unhinged, especially if they're serious about their craft. So it just was very much relatable content for multiple reasons.
It reminded me of This Christmas and that whole aspect. Like every single time you have a musician, they have to make sure they go down that path. Like they in the wind. Like
Yeah.
get a day going tomorrow. That's kind of life.
Mhm.
So, School, you were still Goo Goo Gaga when this movie came out. Like,
Yeah, for sure,
when do you
man.
remember watching this or your first experience with it?
My very first experience with this movie was 85, 85 for sure. Like I said, Grandpa, if you heard us, you know they had every movie channel in the century. And this might have been like a Showtime Black or Cinemax Black
Right.
feature film after 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I've seen this at least 3 or 4 times over there, man. And at one point I didn't understand it. And probably by that third time, I was like, yo, this is a good one. It's a good
You remember how old you were by chance?
Probably 14 at the oldest, like 14, 15, somewhere in there.
Can I take a quick pause real quick? And can we like just shout out the days where some people listening might not notice, but like when you had cable television, like there literally was like a Cinemax women, Cinemax Black, Cinemax Spanish. Like there were all these different sub channels of these movie channels. Are there really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even know that.
You not got all the channels. Yeah.
I didn't know that was still a thing.
It still is. HBO has like 7 different variations. Max has like 4 or 5. Showtime, and then MGM, which was formerly Epic, has like 3 different tiers, and then Stars Black, Stars. It's like 5. Yeah, they also have tiers, including some Spanish for Max and HBO.
Okay, then.
I only got. Hey, listen, I only got 3 of the HBOs. You got all 7. So
yeah, I got that whole package.
Let me sit down somewhere. My first experience was in college.
Really?
Okay. I did not watch this in high school, which I want to get y'all answers on this here in a second, but I'll talk about it real quick. So there was a point in time, I say around 2007. So I was about 20 years old, and I've said this story before. Like at Toledo, I had all the movies. Like I would just go to Best Buy on Tuesdays and just buy movies. Like I go to that $5 bin, just pick up all these random movies. So people would like come and borrow, air quotes, that I still ain't got back, movies from me. And there was a point in time when I was just like, I need to just start doing reruns. Like I need to go back to the movies that came out in the 80s and just kind of start brushing myself up on and watching a lot more. Sometimes I'll get in these binge modes where I'll be like, let me just have a Spike marathon, or let me just have a Denzel marathon and just kind of watch his movies in a row, or just watch them. You know what I'm trying to say. Either way, I did that around 07. I was like, I've never seen Mo Better Blues. I've seen bits and pieces of it. Like you recognize it when it's on screen, but I'd never sat down and actually watched the film. And it was just beautiful as far as how they captured it. And the story they were trying to tell. It's a different movie as I've gotten older. I don't think at that time I've been to like a live jazz club. When I was, maybe 2021, right around that time, but not to the point where I was appreciating it.
Yeah.
Now I can go to a live jazz club and appreciate it. Like, you know what I mean? I saw like Offspring of Coltrane in Baltimore with my big sister last year, 2 years ago. You know what I mean? I can appreciate those experiences. Those are dope. So seeing this film, especially rewatching it, it's a fun film to watch. Like there's a fun film. It's not too heavy, especially about what they were saying about Spike at the time.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little bit, but yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I love Mo Better Blues. Like, and you can't go wrong. It's not trying to do too much.
Yeah.
That's what separates it from like a Do the Right Thing and a School Days. As good and as classic of those movies are, it's not necessarily a sit back, relax, and just kind of let your mind go. Like you can let your mind go with Mo Better Blues. You don't have to think too hard. It's got its subtle stuff with it, but you don't have to think overly hard. So I wanted to ask y'all this. What when it comes to Spike, what was the first Spike memory? Like, do you remember when you knew who Spike Lee was when it comes to film? Because I want to say Malcolm X, but I knew Malcolm X, but I didn't know Spike Lee was behind it. I was 5 years old when that came out. So do you remember like consciously your first Spike Lee film?
I think it might be Clockers.
For
I think
real?
it might be Clockers. Yeah,
You were
I think
6.
I know, but that ain't. I don't. I think it might be Clockers, man.
I ain't mad at you. You a
Yeah.
G for that.
I think it's Clockers for sure. I remember watching that at 6 with my mom and big sis. They rented it. They went to Got It All Video. I remember.
I definitely believe. Yeah, I definitely believe you.
Yeah.
I definitely believe you
for sure.
because you wouldn't make that up.
Nah.
I remember watching Clockers on VHS with my.
Yeah, y'all both. Well, we was a little older. It makes a little sense.
In my mind, I kind of want to say Jungle Fever.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard of Do the Right Thing, but I didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? But Jungle Fever was the one, just because of everything, like in the family, the discussions that took place when niggas was watching it. So
yeah, no doubt.
Fever.
No doubt. The Jungle Fever was probably that's a good answer. That's a good answer. Yeah. Mine actually wasn't a film. I think knowing Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing because of Martin, the poster and just being all hit. But as far as like seeing and my first Spike Lee experience for myself was probably He Got Game.
Okay.
Probably He Got Game. Like the one where I was like, I sat with it. I saw it in the theater. Like I specifically remember like my mom or my sister covering up my eyes during the nudity scenes. I'm like, come on now, I'm too old for that. But yeah, I think it might be He Got Game. And just going back and watching this stuff before, like Spike is a legend.
Oh yeah,
Spike
absolutely.
Is a legend. He is a legend. Shout out to him. He just recently got the Oscar for Black Klansman, or Academy Award, whichever one. I don't think Spike has truly gotten his just due. And maybe because he primarily makes quote unquote Black movies, but Spike is a legend.
Hold that thought about him and his quote unquote Black movies, because we'll get to that in a second. Before we do, School, classic or not?
Yeah, classic.
Ray P.
Sure. 100%.
100%. Can't question that. So before we get into the stats of the film, Spike, this film wasn't well received. Really? I'm not saying by us. I'm saying by the reviews.
Yep.
I want to know if y'all agree with me or not, because I was thinking about this. Spike's early career, so this is his 4th film, right? Spike's early career, She's Gotta Have It, School Days, Do the Right Thing. It kind of reminds me of not the movies themselves, but his intro into Hollywood kind of reminds me of Jordan Peele a little bit.
Okay.
Where he kind of came on the scene for being different. Like Spike was extremely different in the 80s from what Hollywood was used to. And some of the knock on this film when it came out, if you go back and read those reviews, were they were so used to him having such a voice against, the struggle and the culture, and that this movie didn't do anything. It was just a regular, for lack of better terms, it was a regular film. And they were like, it was kind of like a lackluster thing. Like, this is it, Spike? Like, this is kind of boring compared to what we used to. Like, it's kind of like if Jordan Peele dropped like I don't know, if he directed a Star Wars, it's kind of like, yo, this is just a regular story. Like, we want the Jordan Peele stuff.
Yeah.
Did you know that this was not well received, Rachel? You look like you got that.
Not at all. But also, I didn't really think any of Spike's movies were well received by quote unquote the machine, because it's not for them.
Well, I mean, in the terms, and maybe this is a big reason why. This is 1 year after Do the Right Thing, and Do the Right Thing was a deal. Like in Hollywood, it was nominated.
Yeah, I understand that, but even still, it's not for them.
Right. Listen, 100%.
So, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised, because most or a good number of Black projects are not well received if they're not white backed, by that production studio, and houses are not well received by the powers that be.
Nah, that's real.
I'm not surprised at all. I am, but
That's real. I think what surprised me is that reading those reviews, like I said, I wasn't reading reviews in 1980s, but reading those reviews, I was surprised at how many people like appreciated Spike, like white people who were writing these reviews and backed them and were kind of like, I wanted more of the do the right thing school days type of Spike. And that just shocked me because I didn't think that they was into it. Like,
or did they?
Going to your point,
Right.
they probably didn't, but it was funny seeing them write it. Because I didn't think Spike was accepted like I'm with you, Rachel. I didn't think Spike was accepted like that from back then.
Yeah.
So to see these articles, like I said, I like going back retroactively and reading stuff because I'm like, interesting.
Is this real or is this fake love? You feel me?
It's fake love.
One of the things that I went back a little bit and I noticed too is like Spike said himself was just about the Denzel Washington effect. Like he saw something in Denzel and he was just like, this man should be in a romantic lead. Like so I believe he said he wrote this with him in mind from the jump. You know, you get a guy like Denzel, you got to write him something special, man. And that's what this was. You know, this is a romantic ass. Well, it's kind of romantic.
Nigga shit.
Yeah, romantic nigga shit. Exactly.
Absolutely, 100%. Let's get into some stats real quick. You said this is your favorite brand of Denzel? So you like easy stuff like that?
I like sexy Denzel. I mean, I appreciate ass kicking Denzel too, but think Denzel in the 90s, like
you going bleak or easy?
I'm going bleak.
Let's get into some stats. Released August 3rd, 1990. Directed by Spike Lee. Once again, we already talked about him. We'll have an episode about Spike. He's done so much for the culture. We'll talk about his impact and his top films, all that. We talked about this being his fourth feature film after She's Gotta Have It, School Days, and Do the Right Thing. I don't know if I said it was written by Spike Lee, but it is. A budget of an estimated $10 million and made $16.1 million worldwide, 4.3 million opening weekend. So it did make his money back, but wasn't like very grandiose. I could not find how long this movie was in the theaters. I don't know why. Conspiracy. Streaming on, well, excuse me, it's not streaming anywhere. You have to rent it if you want to watch it, but it's worth renting. It's worth buying. You can keep it in the collection. Trust me, it is something you can rewatch over and over again. As far as the cast, we have Denzel Washington as Minifield Bleak Gilliam. Spike Lee as Giant. Wesley Snipes as Shadow Henderson. Giancarlo Esposito as Left Hand Lacey. Robin Harris, the late great Robin Harris as Butterbean Jones. Joy Lee as Indigo Downs. Bill Nunn as Bottom Hammer. John Turturro as Mo Flatbush. Nicholas Turturro as Joe Flatbush. Dick Anthony Williams, the late great, as Big Stop Williams. Linda Williams as Clark Benacourt. Jeff Tane Watts as Rhythm Jones, the drummer. And we have appearances from Samuel L. Jackson and Charlie Murphy. We didn't talk about it, but Spike does like to use a lot of the same actors in his films. Something I can appreciate that from him. So you see a lot of faces, or a lot of those casts are going to be in multiple films of his. As far as the origin, I already talked about it. It really wasn't well received. There was some controversy around the film when it came out. I guess we can get into that now a little bit. What you say, School?
I said I've read about it.
Yeah. Rachel, you familiar with this?
Nope.
From the Anti-Defamation League?
Nope.
So there was a real big, and we've seen it recently, but a real big issues and complaints coming from the Anti-Defamation League because of his portrayal of the club owners. So there's and Spike Lee, rightfully so. And let me, before I even say anything, because I'm not gonna say nothing crazy, but before I say anything, Culture Garden is all about love. Like we created this space to make, to give flowers.
Yes.
But if I'm looking at things from a principle standpoint, I'm looking directly at what's going on with Spike Lee. I want to share what happened and share his response. They pretty much came down on him because of the stereotypes of the club owners who were supposed to be Jewish, and they are, every single anti-Semitic stereotype. That's what they labeled Spike Lee as, and they were really on his ass. Something that really kind of followed him, not just with this film, but a little bit after. And he's gotten credit for getting better, as I read in certain articles, but this is a big deal. To the point where Spike Lee, he responded in an editorial in the New York Times, and he said there's a double standard of work in Hollywood, plain and simple. You know, you guys are accusing me of anti-Semitism, and you guys have a long history of negative portrayal of African Americans.
Yeah.
Like, not every black person's a pimp. They ain't a murderer, a prostitute, convict, rapist, drug addict. But that hasn't stopped Hollywood from writing these roles for black people. So for you guys to believe that every single character that I write has to have some kind of upstanding moral value, like you could still be this of this ethnicity or this background and still be a bad person. Like that's just what it is. Like it doesn't mean that I'm like specifically picking on those people or this group of people or whatever the case may be. He also said that don't hold me to a higher moral standard than the rest of my filmmaking colleagues. Now that young black filmmakers have arisen in the film industry, all of a sudden stereotypes are a big issue. I think it's reaching a point where I'm getting reviewed, not my films. So they're judging Spike and not him. And he said, he refused to apologize for his portrayal of the Flatbush brothers. I stand behind all my work, including my characters, Mo and Joe Flatbush. If critics are telling me that to avoid charges of anti-Semitism, all Jewish characters I write have to be model citizens, and not one can be a villain, cheat, or a crook, and that no Jewish people have ever exploited black artists in the history of the entertainment industry, that's unrealistic and unfair. Those are Spike Lee's words. They're there for you to do what you want with them. That's his feelings. And if you really want to dig into the history, Google's your friend. A lot of things he said is easily found online about the talents of black people, especially in the 50s, 60s, and being exploited by the powers that be.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go to the 50s and 60s, but that's very interesting. I don't know if y'all watched Black Monday on Showtime with Don Cheadle, Regina Hall. There are two Jewish brothers portrayed. It takes place in the 80s, you know, the stock market crashing on Black Monday, who Mo and Josh reminded me of those two brothers. And the whole time I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, they remind me of the brothers from Black Monday. I think that part of art is telling the truth. And no, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not saying that. But there is some truth somewhere in every little thing. And we just have to grapple with that. We have to learn from all of our collective pasts and histories and do better. But you can call things out as you see it. And Spike made a great point in that article that you read, like, motherfucker, y'all portray us as just any old thing then and now.
Right.
We got to sit back and just take it. So
yeah, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I read that because it was a big deal around the film, and I like the fact that Spike stood on this too. Like it was 10 toes. It was like, yo, this is what it is. I don't mean no harm, just telling my story. So
that's it.
Another thing that was a big deal with this film is there was an oral history. I think IndieWire.com did it a few years ago. An oral history of like they only did it. It's interesting. The only time I've seen an oral history with only 2 cast members.
I saw that, and
it was with the 2 women, and there's really only 2 women in this whole film. So you have Joy Lee and you have Linda Williams, and 1989, 1990 on set, just talking about the pay scale and having to kind of get into this boys club of a world, and a lot of the actors were method actors. So a lot of them were very chauvinistic and, for lack of better terms, not the best to be on set with. Now Linda Williams did say, I'm not saying this is who these people are. Like, I'm aware that they were method acting.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it wasn't necessarily the most comfortable place to be on set. Joy Lee said kind of the same thing where
that's Spike's sister.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That's his sister.
That's Spike's sister. An interesting thing that I noticed, and I don't know, you guys can read into this what you want. Spike was asked to comment, and he did comment on certain things, and they put his answers in parentheses, but he only commented on Linda Williams. He didn't say anything about anything that Joy said, and she didn't necessarily say anything bad, but it wasn't one of those like, if me and you worked on a movie together, Rachel, like, I'd expect that story to be, oh, it was incredible. Like, it was an incredible time. It was kind of like, you know, there was some moments like Spike reamed her out on set one day because her voice wouldn't project. and she just had an issue. We just kind of kept going over and over. The sound guy couldn't even hear her, and it was just a big deal. She said Denzel actually kind of helped her because she was crying, like stormed off. He said use that energy towards your acting and things of that nature. But it was just an interesting piece when you look at women in Hollywood. I know a lot of times we talk about the culture, we talk about our blackness, but also there's another side to that where you have the women's side. And yes, we might have gotten far as far as black people, but shout out to the black queens. I know a lot of y'all still have some uphill battles, and we want to make sure we be allies and help as much as we can. But we have to acknowledge the fact that shit was real, and the people that do look like you, because it's always said, I'm in these. Rachel and myself have talked about on Harlem. There was a scene with Angie and not being able to do her hair. So we talk about scenes like that, but what is it like when your own people around you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I still don't necessarily feel the same. Not saying it's bad, but I don't feel the same love that I think I should be getting. So it was an interesting piece.
I read that same article, Rich, and it was very interesting. Even just a quick one is Linda Williams was speaking on the sex scenes, and Denzel wouldn't take his shirt off and stuff like that, but they had to get naked. Like it was just stuff like that. It was just it was weird. So
it was kind of it was a little bit it was just like I said, everything that I've been saying so far these are quotes, and this is stuff that these actors have said, so it's not like our opinions. It's just interesting to address and acknowledge and understand that they all have a voice. Another point to what you were saying, School, is when they were talking about she was talking about her character of Clark was like a full character, like a real well-rounded character, and she said I was at the premiere with my family, and I saw like a lot of the scenes that I loved about this character were cut out the movie. And she didn't watch the film for years, like maybe a couple decades. I think the last film she said she watched it maybe in 2018.
Oh, wow.
After years and years and years of not watching it. And she enjoyed the film. She said, I understand why people love it. I enjoyed the film. I enjoy certain aspects of it. But I can't help but to think that there were certain parts of this character that just weren't seen, especially the parts that I loved. And Spike did respond and say, look, like, unfortunately, parts get cut. Like, that's kind of what it is. And as far as the Denzel thing and him not taking off the tank top, he said, I asked Denzel to do it, but he didn't do it. This is a Denzel Washington film.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if he says he ain't gonna take off his tank top, I'm not gonna go to go to bat for it. Like, whatever, don't take it off then.
Right. Just
interesting how it's looked at. So
take your fucking t-shirt off, nigga.
I want to see Rachel be a director.
Oh man,
I would love to see Rachel run a set.
That would be amazing.
I'm talent.
I feel that, man. I feel that.
Shit would get done now. I tell you that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But I definitely would have to have cameras rolling at all times, like, because I know some live shit gonna happen on that set.
100%. So before we get into our categories, things like that, as far as I know, we talked about earlier about Mo Better Blues just being one of our favorite Spike films. For me, the one thing that I really appreciated about it, like Rachel said, you kind of is, or School, I think you said it's a like a love story for niggas. If I don't want to misquote you if that ain't what you said so elegantly. But personally, a lot of the issues that Bleak faces is something that I've looked in the face as well. Like directly. And I it's not like when we did The Photograph, Michael Block felt like a familiar character.
Yeah.
I don't want to say Bleak is a familiar character, just some of the things that he went through and goes through are very familiar to me. And I can really resonate with that character a lot more. Kind of just, listen, this is just being transparent, being honest. Kind of caring about what you got going on in your own life above anything else.
Yeah.
When it comes to opening up for relationships. Bleak told Clark, man, I know what I want. I want my music. Everything else is secondary.
It's secondary.
And kind of, I've been in that space where, listen, this is what I got. Our time together is our time together. Our time is apart. The time's apart.
Period.
And I don't mean no harm. And I know Bleak did it, and I enjoy seeing that part of his character. Even more so, what I enjoyed is you can see and recognize the fuck shit that Bleak was on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and he's such a likable character, and he's so like he played it so smooth. Oh, you disagree?
Is he likable?
Maybe that goes to say how close I am. I'm not running away from the fact that I just may be trash and I like Bleak. I like Bleak. School, you like Bleak?
I like Shadow more.
Ooh,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hold on. You like Shadow as a person, or you like the character that Wesley portrayed?
The character Wesley portrayed.
So if you're just looking at these two people on surface, all right, just take Wesley and Denzel out of it, just the characters themselves.
Yeah.
You still like Shadow more?
Yeah.
That nigga
Dirty Mac and
101. For that reason
Shadow.
alone, I can't.
Well, I feel like he wasn't hiding who he was, man. I think he knew who he was, a dirty son bitch. He just knew it. He lived in that. I think Gilliam was he was hiding a little bit. Mr. Bleak was hiding. You know.
What you mean when you say that?
I don't think he knew who he was as far as the relationship side. Like,
oh, I'm sorry.
Like,
I'm going to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I just don't think he knew who he was or what he wanted, like, as far as the relationship shit, until something else happened, until Shadow, got involved. And now he I want them all now. You know how that shit go, man.
Rachel, go ahead. I know you were going to say something.
I completely disagree. I think that Bleak knew exactly what he wanted, which was both of them when he wanted them. And that's what Clark said, like, nigga, or maybe Indigo said, you want me when you want me. Like, that's it. And that's typical niggas. Like, it wasn't about wanting to be in love. He didn't care. I like what I get from both of y'all, whenever I want that. And Clark and Indigo were two very different women. And whereas he felt like, Indigo was more settled, stable. She's a teacher. Clark is a musician.
But here's my point too.
But she's around and his muse, you know what I'm saying? We see, him really getting into his music bag when he's with Clark. I don't think he really wanted either of them. Not for real.
But we can, even with Shadow, we could say he was a snake and a dog and shit. But once he got Clark, he stuck with her. Like they don't tell us he wifed her, but I would put money that he wifed.
Well, no, he did.
That
Giant said it when Bleak came back to his little farewell performance. Essentially, he said Clark and Shadow really got a good thing.
Yeah, see, he took her. Yeah, he did some dirty shit, but he took her with purpose. Like, I'm going to give you what you want. I'm gonna give you this. You're gonna have a record deal with me or whatever it is. You're gonna and I'm going to be with you. She wanted a relationship.
She wanted a relationship, and Bleak couldn't give her that.
Yes, and Shadow could, and he did it.
And Shadow could and did, but also he wasn't like justified.
I can't.
In the way that he went about it. I'm not mad because I've said on these shows many a time, sometimes shit just happen.
Yeah.
But the way in which you go about making shit happen matters. They didn't organically fall into a relationship. And this nigga was like, look, baby, this what the fuck I can do for you. I'm trying to show you. I can show you the world. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, nigga ain't shit. I can do XYZ for you. Come to the winning team, bitch. And I'ma fuck you while I know you still with this nigga on the balcony so niggas can see how Giant little ass seen that shit from being inch high to a grasshopper. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
Like, you were moving wild as fuck. And then to the point, I'm asking you as my dog, as my bandmate, whether we got a little static or not, to smooth shit over. And you over here pressing my bitch, nigga? Are you fucking crazy? No.
And I've listened. In school, like, I got to ride with Rachel. Like this, you can't tell me that Shadow wasn't smooth enough to where he could have went about it a whole different way.
That part.
It's the fact that he intentionally went out of his way to tell her he ain't shit. He don't want you like I want you. Nah, bro, you don't do that to. I can see if he was just a random dude you don't know. That Shadow, nah, you in the same band. I can't. I can't.
It's too close. It's too close.
Yeah.
Everything else is cool. The fact that he wanted Clark, cool. Go get her. Go. That's cool. Do your thing. You don't do it that way. I don't care.
Don't do it that way.
I do not care.
Part.
You don't.
And then we didn't even get into scenes. I mean, kind of, but
we hold on. We ain't even that scene. We're just in a regular conversation still.
Yeah.
You want to listen to the voicemail, like nigga?
Yeah, like come on.
Is this about me, or is this about whatever you and him got going on?
That's what it seemed like. It was like an ego thing. Remember, you gotta think. He wanted the band. He wanted to run things his way. He wanted more money. He wanted what Bleak had, literally. And
you want to be this nigga.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And it was even more.
No bitch.
But to Shadow's credit, even though he went about it in a crazy way, the reason he really wanted to be Bleak is because he knew he could be Bleak. Like Shadow was talented. Shadow had, we seen at the end of the movie, he had every single quality to do everything Bleak was doing and living Bleak's life. So I don't want to take it away from him. It's just that, damn, bruh.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like it's like the sports argument when everybody was mad at KD for going to the Warriors, when they was mad at Bron for going to the Heat. Like, bro, you talented enough to get it on your own.
Yeah,
you ain't gotta do no sucker shit to do it.
Here's my thing with Clark though too is Clark knew about Indigo. They both knew about each other. Like, so how much is we gonna? Does she take any blame too? Like,
well that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, they just adults making their own decisions. Right. I respect the fact that they knew about each other.
Yeah, it be like that.
I respect it. Like, they both knew about each other and they both choose to. Like, he came over and told her straight up smooth as hell. Like, she came on her court. Like, what you want me to tell her to leave? Like, you here, I'm leaving here with you. That's all that mattered. Like, he kept it lucky with him. Like, so I ain't mad at Clark.
I mean, I guess that's the only woman on the show. You know, when you out and you see a slide that you might not know, but you know.
That dress let them know. Like, I already know what it is.
Get out of here. So that's a different conversation. Yeah, Clark was wrong too, but.
And let me say one more time. I'm not even mad at Shadow for hollering at her.
Yeah.
I'm not even mad at that. It's just that you don't have to go out your way to specifically shit on Bleak to do it. Holler at her with everything else you got. Just don't mention Bleak name.
Because clearly you could have got her.
Exactly. Bleak even told him, like, hey, last time, you know what? When I look at her naked body, my name ain't written on there. I don't own nobody. Like, it's all good. Bleak told him. Just be real. He was telling him, like, keep it a buck with me and bring it to me right now.
Yeah.
You want to get a Clark, tell me you want to get a Clark.
Right.
And I'll tell you, do your thing. If I still do my thing with her, that's on you. Maybe you ain't got the juice like you thought. But if you can pull her, pull her. Keep it a buck about it, though. No, don't take my name down so you can do it. You ain't got to do all that, brother.
Right.
Trust me, it ain't even that deep. Right. So I got to be on Shadow ass. I just can't.
Yeah, I don't like that shit.
Also, to another thing, School, I do think, and this goes way back to the beginning of this whole conversation, I think you are right as far as Bleak not knowing what he wanted. And the reason I say that, Rachel, you were right too, because I think you're both right in different ways. The reason I mainly say that is because the women told him, Indigo and Clark both told him, you don't know what you want. You wishy-washy. Mm-hmm. Clark said, I want somebody that knows what they want with me, like what they want to do. Again, relatable. I get it.
Relatable.
Like, this doesn't paint me in the most flattering picture, but I'm being real and transparent on this episode. Like, the what's the word I'm looking for? The convenience, I guess, for lack of better terms, of knowing that you can kind of move how you want to move with different people.
Mm-hmm.
And
what
you kind of
away with.
I don't even want to say getting away with it. Like, you just kind of moving, and this is what it is. And I know it's not right, and I know it's kind of fucked up. Not fucked up in a bad way, but I know you might want more that I'm not able to provide. Like, if I really wanted to be the stand-up person, I probably should like just wash my hands of it, let you do your thing. But you still fuck with me, and that's the thing I think Bleak brings to this character. When I say he's likable, like, Bleak is somebody like you can understand why they still fucked with him. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Rachel. You don't?
I get it.
All right, okay.
And maybe it was a trigger.
Yeah, but nah, some people like it's not.
Yeah.
You kind of had those repeat conversations, and you see this throughout the film. There are those constant because they badly want him to be somebody else.
Yeah,
They want
Not
to take the
even
place of
somebody
music.
else who they know he has the potential to be, like
Yeah,
himself.
sure.
That is a nigga that's upright. You know,
Yeah.
he on his shit.
That's real.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
it's very interesting. Like I said, it's not just the positives about Bleak. It's the negatives that really like are eye opening to me. Because I can understand a little bit how he's operating. And I
Yeah.
know what his mind's going through, and I know he knows that. I have certain fears that maybe it's gonna take that last straw for me to be like, all right, like that nigga. We'll get to it and come see about me. We'll get about that nonsense that can't be defended. Bleak was on some trash.
Yeah.
Yep.
But sometimes I think to myself, like, damn, man, that's gonna have to be to like I'm really out the game, like I'm really washed, where I want to hang up my jersey. I'm not, and I don't want to. I'm not out here like that. I'm just saying in general.
He said he ain't out here like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Like I always say, man, ladies, I love y'all, but I love my freedom more. I want to be able to move how I want to move sometimes while I accomplish these goals, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy. So, we'll figure it out, man. Welcome to the Culture Garden Therapy episode. Let's go ahead and get into best scenes.
Okay.
I'll
kick it. I'll start with the intro scene, just when all the kids are outside the window, just because 95% of the time kids cussing is funny as fuck to me. And we've talked about it before, just about like that New York life is different than anywhere else. So just kind of growing up with that, you outside the brownstone and just outside. I think we can't all relate to being kids just outside getting your crew. So I'll kick it with that. Go ahead.
Understood. I agree with you on that one. Like I love that scene. Just the opening. I love how he came out the window as well.
Yeah.
That New York kind of attitude. Like, hey man, what I tell you about all that? Like just they back and forth, all of that. I loved it.
My favorite thing about that scene is just his frustration when he was getting frustrated with his parents. Like his dad was like, "I got a game on." He said, "Go watch it then.
Go watch it.
Go look at it." Even getting sassy with his parents.
Yeah, at 6 years old, if I'd have said that to Pops,
I'd have
been in the game.
Hey, you hear me?
Yeah, he'd have knocked me to the stadium.
Yeah, I think that's why I like moments like that, because I couldn't get away with that shit.
At all. At all.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah, but you could tell. I don't think he. Well, yeah, I'm about to say he was talking back to moms too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. School, what you got for scene? We'll just go in round table.
I got that one, and then I got Shadow. I'm scared to say it. Shadow with his grandstanding, man. Shadow was fooling, man. He said that man was going 3 hours just going. You hear me? But when you that nice, why wouldn't you? Who gonna stop you?
Listen, I'm not mad at it. I would be if I was in a group, but as somebody who was in the audience,
you just enjoying the music.
Yeah, if it's your night to score 50, it's your night to score 50.
That's a fact. That guy was doing his thing, man. That's all.
Yeah, man. I did like that scene. I had that as well. As well as the scene after that first set in the dressing room. I just love the idea of a band. Obviously they in the house. They the house band. They got their own dressing room. They got their own rules. I love the fact that you see Bleak is his name's on the marquee. As soon as the set's over, chill with all the grandstanding. What's up with the solo? Like, calm it down.
Mm-hmm.
They joking, they laughing. They can kind of get in each other. They talk to each other a certain way, but they both know they just talking shit. Like I would love to know more about that relationship between Bleak and Shadow.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how long they've known each other. I want to because Shadow calls him a friend, and we see their strife. But at the end, when shit hits the fan, Shadow is there.
The one.
Shadow's there. You know what I mean? So I am curious about their background, but just that scene overall. If you work with people that you love, you recognize that the scene is real. Like, it can be difficult. And that's just kind of what it is. So I loved everything about that. I don't know if y'all want to chime in, or Rachel, you just want to go to the next scene?
No, I agree with what you said. I'll just go to my next one. I like when we meet Clark for the first time, who interrupts his rehearsal. You know, she comes early, knowing good and damn well he still has an hour left of his private practice. I like that she didn't give a fuck about that shit. And that she knew that she was his muse too. You know, we gonna come do what we do. And like I said, if you've ever dealt with a musician, like they will tune your ass out once they get in their zone. So I thought that was cool.
I had specifically, and that's I had specifically written down for that scene, women being aggy just because they know they can.
My favorite.
You know what I mean? Just being aggy because they know they can. Because Clark could, Bleak could have easily told her to ride out, but she knew he was gonna let her up and interrupt his practice and entertain her bullshit.
Yep.
I got the times mixed up. Everything on the schedule with you. Like, all right. What you got, Stu?
Definitely got that scene, man. Just like you said, bro, just being aggy. Like,
just cause.
Even before he let her up, like he already knew what it was. He questioned her all at the monitor, knowing damn well he gonna let her up. You ain't letting that beautiful woman sit down there.
Yeah, you ain't letting her sit down.
At all. So that's definitely one for me.
For sure. What you got next?
The next scene I skipped a lot, but the dress scene for me, man, that's my favorite scene. When my favorite part is when Giant walks up to Bleak and just basically hits him with it, like, yo, remember that bet we placed when you bought that dress? Like, yo, I need that 50. And he paid it up. Like, man, that's a dope scene. The Bleak trying to walk in and sneak around without being seen by Clark, like just that player ass Denzel. That's just Denzel, you know what I mean? Like, Denzel being Denzel. You feel me? Like dope ass scene. I don't know what y'all got for it, but that's
I have that written down too. Just and then the whole scene, the discussions at both tables. You know,
yes.
Bleak and Indigo going back and forth, and she's saying, you know, I like her dress, and then juxtaposing that against Shadow and Clark's conversation, and even Bleak and Clark's conversation, like, nigga, I invited you. I ain't tell her to come. You know what it is. All of that.
Absolutely. I got that scene. I think I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. Top two, if not my favorite. Like you said, that's just, first of all, the fact that he paid the bet, because he said, man, you know, you owe me 50. He said, you right. And gave it to him right on the spot. Had that look on his face and then figured out, like, you know what? It's cool. Like, because you can do that when you know about each other. Like I said, I do respect the fact, no matter how much trash, and it is trash.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I do respect the fact that they knew about each other and it wasn't no big surprise or blow up. Because imagine if they didn't and then you see this woman in the same dress as you. And he got that. They made a point to say they got that dress in Paris.
Yeah.
So it ain't like they just went to Lenox or somewhere in the city and picked out that dress. So it's very specific. And just the eyes of them wearing at the same time at the same place and all that. Like, I just love that entire thing. I love how he navigated it. Y'all hit the nail on the head. The next scene I have, outside of all the Butterbean sets, I got his scene in there. But outside of that, the next scene I have is Shadow and Bleak, the fight right after.
Okay.
Yes.
When not right after, when he found out that Clark and Shadow were a thing. And you know, Shadow came up to him, was talking about the money, and Bleak wasn't trying to hear it at all.
I want to hear that shit.
Get out my face, man. Get out my face. All it takes is put your hand on me. Now I got a reason. And I'm getting back into it. That was just brewing up all movie.
Yeah.
Because of their rivalry. Like, and you could tell it wasn't like a beef, but it was a thing. It was a real thing. So I had that down.
I want to say Shadow asked about that money at least 4 different times. Maybe less than that, but he asked about every other scene with him and Bleak in it. He asked about that money.
And I'm not mad at him.
Right.
And I'm not mad at him. If this place is packed every night, you got a 3-drink minimum, dinner starting at $25, $15 cover charge.
Yeah.
Somebody making some money here, and it ain't me.
And it ain't us. Yeah.
That's a fact.
So I ain't mad at him for asking. And once again, like you have two, that's like a Kobe Shaq situation. Like Shadow was overqualified to kind of be the backup in a sense.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like he can lead his own team. So that's what made that dynamic even more interesting.
Right.
How much of their money, and I thought this.
Gambling?
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
Like, is Giant forthright with what they are being paid? Because everything in me believed that Giant was skimming off the top.
Me too.
Absolutely.
As the manager, over taking a little extra for himself. Not even to pay his debts, just to get into more debt, or
more debt.
Survive because you clearly owe.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I thought about that, and I think that's right. The only thing that makes me question it is we have a scene where Bleak goes up to their office and tells them personally he wants more money.
Yeah.
Which will make me think that he's also would ask them directly what his deal is, and I don't know.
Well, also the one thing too that makes me question it right along with you, Rich, is that he asked Lefty for that bread, and Lefty had bread. So look like Lefty might be someone who handles his business as far as like holding on to his money. He might be a little tighter than the rest of them or something, because he pulled out a nice little chunk of change and let Giant borrow that bread.
Yeah,
so,
I think 600 if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, I didn't think that the others weren't handling their money well. I genuinely believe that Giant, as their manager, was not. I think that Mo and Josh were not paying them what they should be getting. But on top of that, I did think that Giant was taking more of their pot than what they were contractually obligated to, because
I don't know if that's possible if they had the contract.
But did they have it?
I will say this. I think he did right by Bleak.
And that's it.
And I think everybody else got an extra percentage off of their cut.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, that contract probably is with Bleak.
Yeah.
And Bleak is responsible for paying members of his band.
Correct.
Yeah. Damn.
And that's probably what Giant negotiated. So it's really just between them three. And I think the first time that Shadow mentions the money at their rehearsal, he says Flatbush is getting paid, Giant getting paid, Bleak getting paid, we ain't. Well, not that they ain't getting paid, but we need a raise. We obviously we are outgrowing this deal that we in. We need to renegotiate. So I think that's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting question. But yeah, I think he did right by Bleak, but everybody else, nah, this is my bread.
Yeah, buddy, that's a good one. I ain't think of that.
Rachel, what scene you got next?
So I'm a rewind back. Giant trying to get into the club for the first time, and we see Charlie Murphy and the 5%er, them going back and forth, just because it also reminded me of Players Club. That whole situation. I just thought it was funny. And if you watch a lot of 90s movies or even listen to 90s rap and think New York and the whole 5% movement and, don't cut my wisdom, God, all of that. So very, very 90s, very Harlem, especially.
Absolutely. 100%. School, what you got next?
I'm going to skip ahead too. I'm going to go to the scene where Bleak asked Giant to return that Coltrane record to Shadow, and Shadow just disrespects Bleak. Just called him a bitch, and I ain't gonna let him borrow nothing if it's gonna take a year to get it back. But I say all that to say the scene where he's checking his sheets, asking his man's Giant to check his sheets and sniff. I had a woman in here last night. Do it smell like perfume? Be honest. And then he said he had to buy extra condoms, man. I had to go buy some more condoms, man. His girl on his ass, would have been. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I had that and wouldn't let that happen to me. I'm not sniffing no grown man sheets. Figure that shit out, bro. Figure that shit out. I'm not sniffing.
Hey, man, you just need some help, man. That's all.
Figure that shit out. If you that in doubt, wash them.
Just
I'm not
watch him,
sniffing
which
your
he
sheets,
did do.
bruh.
Which he did do.
You probably nut right on this spot where my nose at. I'm not sniffing your sheets. Fuck out of here. I'm not doing it.
Hey, y'all stupid, man.
I can see the whole, man. Do I smell like perfume or something like that, bruh? Sniff my sheets, nigga? Nah, right out.
Hey, man.
I think the only other thing I had was the Clark and Indigo. Clark and Indigo, just that duality we talked about with the same way as with the red dress scene. Just them kind of being in the same thing and us seeing different points of view, knowing that he fucked up. Once again, wouldn't let that shit happen to me though.
You mean you're talking about the scene with the name? When he calls him by the
that's
different
the
names?
name.
Okay, got you.
Would not let that happen to me. Like, I'm not saying I'd be moving like that for it to happen to me, but I wouldn't let it happen to me anyway.
I'm with you on that scene. And I ain't trying to cut ahead, Rachel. I know you next, but the last scene I'm gonna say is the hip hop. The hip hop when he wrote the love.
40? The top 40?
Yeah, the top 40, and he just was doing the hip hop thing, and that was real nice to see, just because that's what hip hop was then, man. Like, just clownish and gimmicky, you know what I mean? Like, that shit was dope, man. And to see Denzel do it is just funny in itself anyway.
From around the way.
Yeah, man, from around the way.
I forgot. You from around the way. I'm leaving here with something.
That's funny. I too had the Clark or the sex scene with him mixing up Clark and Indigo's names. Just because that's something that happens. It has not happened to me, but I do know people that's happened to. Crazy. So I'll backtrack. The other scene I have is Left bringing Jean to the dressing room. She's a sister, that was funny as fuck, just because how you, first off, you're the only one with a white girl. Is she the only one who can't follow the rules? Like, come on,
dog. Of course not.
Like, you playing real crazy. And just to see nothing, I like how they was jonesing on them, like, nigga, this is a sister. That shit was funny as fuck to me. I like Clark confirming that she talks to Shadow. Shadow thinks I can sing. So that was foreshadowing. If you hadn't seen it, like, oh, wait a minute, are they friends? Like, he have heard me singing.
I really love that part too, because it puts Bleak in a situation where he can't say nothing.
Right.
I ain't your girl. You made it clear I ain't your girl.
Period.
I never this is the first time I really peeped the foreshadowing of the lip thing, like when Clark bit his lip and how important it is for your lip. Like, that, I don't know how I missed that before.
Yeah, you can't play.
Did it throughout the whole movie. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's it. And I did write down Giant getting beat up and then Bleak speeding through the last song after, the whole fight and everything. So
yeah, I was sorry they did Giant like that, so I ain't having in my favorite scenes. But the last thing I had was just the ending, just the full circle, beginning of the film to the end of the film, letting his son go outside to play.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah. Best quotes.
Oh, I'll kick it. Don't give me that it's a dick thing either. That whole shebang. Like it or not, you're a dog. A good dog, but a dog nonetheless. Of course, that's something I would love. You want me to run through them or y'all want to go?
Nah, go ahead, man. Get through your quotes. I'm sure I ain't got none of your nonsense right now.
Mo better makes it mo better. And we don't make love because you don't love me. I already said it. Don't cut my wisdom, God. Time is when, God. Lounge. What does size have to do with anything? A lot, because you keep coming up short. At some point, you have to let this love shit go and think about respect. That was a bar from Shadow, Dirty Mac or not. And I felt that in my spirit. I was born yesterday, but stayed up all night. Black as fuck line, Black parent. Shadow, your MX is declined. I just came up here to see you. That little shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
I know that's all.
School, what you got?
Of course, I got everything Rachel said because those are classics. I got I want a man who knows what he wants. I know what I want. My music. Everything else is secondary. I knew you'd say that. Then why'd you ask? Bullshit, bullshit accent. She's from Queens. I love when they get the when Giant gets to telling that story and Lefty goes, "Is this a long story?" Shadow, you shut the fuck up, you midget. My name is Giant, all right? Blame your motherfucking mother, man. And then of course, can't do this without our guy, Butterbean Jones. How you doing, waitress? Yeah, she's a nun. Won't give me none, ain't had none, told me she don't need none.
I got you. I got
Classics,
you.
man.
Yeah, man.
I got going back to your dog scene, Rachel. Guess it's time for Confessions of a Modern Day Dog. You love her? I like her. What about the others? I like her too.
Nigga shit.
Yeah. I guess it says everything that I got that written down for best quotes. Why you bringing all this confusion into my home? Everyone is a teacher. People can teach you two things: what to do and what not to do.
Thanks.
Everything y'all said already, so I'm skipping through. I hate to say this, G, but you have a fucked up family. I'm just sick and tired of your relatives.
Yeah.
So them quotes back to back. And my favorite quote, because it is a full circle moment when you look at the film, is from Indigo. Indigo said when we very first meet her, speaking of broken hearts, Bleak, do you know what my mother always used to tell me? She said, don't ever marry a musician, let alone go out with one. She said, she said, I'd be inviting grief and pain and tears and heartbreak to my doorstep. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Bleak brought all of that to her doorstep, asking her to save him.
Yeah.
So that quote, the fact that it came around full circle, I love it.
Facts.
Scene Stiller.
I don't really know if he counts, but I got Wesley Snipes as Shadow.
That's what I got.
I mean, that's fair. That's what I have written. I mean, that's an easy. I think that's unanimous. For secondary, I did put Robin Harris. I just thought he was funny for the little moments he was on screen. I thought he stood out every single time.
Yeah.
School.
That's what I got. I got Wesley, like you said. I'm okay with Robin, but I also say Joy Lee, Indigo. She did her thing.
Yeah.
She did.
She did her thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Things that bother you?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Before I get into things that bother me, can I just get into some random little things that I wrote down?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. Number one, Bleak was right. Clark wasn't ready to sing.
That's fair.
Shadow's lust and love was blocking his ears because I was definitely getting the Harlem Blues. Bleak's dad had on a Pittsburgh Crawfords jersey, which is a Negro League, and my grandfather was in the Negro League. Shout out to the
Okay, dude.
Shout out. Yes,
I hate that Bleak wouldn't let go of Giant as a manager. And now I can say this, and you already kind of said it. Niggas always want to get back after they fallen off. Nigga, you have nothing. And you want to come over here with all this fucking weeping and wailing. Get the fuck out of here.
And hold on real quick. It's not only that he came back, it's been a year.
Yeah.
We're talking about a year in 1990 where you could really disappear if you wanted to.
Period. It did.
And he did. Like, people went all that time without seeing from Bleak, hearing from Bleak. He said he only kept in touch with his pops for real.
Yep.
Like, so he come back, like, the ball's on Bleak for real.
Yeah.
Come back at her. He didn't just call her. Like, he showed up at her doorstep, middle of the
didn't
night.
know if it was going to be another nigga there. You just came.
You feel me? Woke her up. And she went for it.
Niggas are insane.
She went for it. Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, so now I'm ready for things that bother me. Number one, I didn't understand why the bouncers let Bleak get beat up too. Yeah, we seen y'all beefing with Giant, but why y'all didn't intervene when it came to Bleak, the star,
right,
and who's never played y'all to the left?
Straight up.
I ain't like that shit.
I ain't like it either.
And this is my final one. My husband, old bitch, ain't coming to our wedding. I don't give a, especially the slide that I got to
No,
go back
stop
and
it.
forth. You playing double dutch with
He
me, and
was
this
Shadow.
motherfucker HPV with this
She,
bitch.
she was Shadow,
No,
man. They
I
got a
don't
good
give
thing.
a fuck. I
They
do
got
not
good thing,
care.
man. They got
No,
good thing, man.
you was
Let that shit
fucking
slide.
behind me with my husband. No, you can't come. No, I'm not going.
I can't be mad at you.
Going. No.
I can't be mad at you. I can't be mad at you. School, what you got that bothers you?
It really bothers me that he bought them both the same dress. Like, you was in Paris, bro. You could have bought one of them a dress and one of them some earrings, man. That wasn't player at all.
Well,
at least I don't think it was.
I do feel you. I do feel you. I also can understand his bet. Like, what are the odds that they would ever even see each other at the same time, same place? Very irresponsible.
Yeah.
But I can understand how it happened. And one important detail about that is they were leaving Paris. Remember who Bleak is. Bleak cares about his music. The women in his life are an afterthought. He was on his way out and said, "Oh snap, I'm leaving Paris. I ain't buy them nothing."
He probably got that shit in the duty free in the airport.
Yeah, straight up.
Man.
You know what
So
I mean?
they was selling earrings, man. You could have bought one of them some earrings or some sandals and one of them a dress, man.
That's too much.
Bleak don't think of them as that. Like, I care about you just enough to know that I went to Paris and got to bring you back. He might as well brought him back a postcard. Like, that's what it was to him. Like, it wasn't any kind of thought or consideration. Like, this is what's gonna look good with me taking it off of you. I want to take it off of both of y'all. So I'm gonna buy both of y'all the same dress. That's how Bleak thought of that.
I see.
I want to take your earrings off. I want to take the dress off, and I'm gonna take it off you and you.
And the last thing that bothered me is the fact that Bleak went up there and embarrassed himself like that. I feel like he practiced enough to know that he didn't have it anymore, and it just hurt my heart, man. Especially, I know that Shadow saved him, and he didn't do it on no cocky shit. Like, he did it as a friend. But yeah, man, he didn't have to go up there and semi-embarrass himself like that. It wasn't necessary.
I don't think he knew he was going to embarrass himself.
Yeah, I'm with Rachel. I don't think he did that on purpose.
I don't think he practiced before that. We see him always practicing and being on his shit. Like,
I'll tell you something right now. You can go to any NBA practice. All them niggas go hit every open basket. Game time comes.
Yeah,
whole different story. Yeah. It's different when that pressure on. It's been over a year.
It's been over a year. Like, and the last time you played, some traumatic ass shit happened to you. Life altering shit. So now to be back on that stage, it's more than a notion. I hated that shit for him.
Absolutely.
It didn't bother me. It bothered me, but not in the way that it bothered you. It bothered me like, God damn, that's how it be too. Like,
right.
With a rock bottom. And now I have trauma to the lips. If they zoomed in on his lips, like, very clearly has scar tissue. So yeah, you practiced at home, which I'm sure you did, but I don't know. Game day.
That's why I say practice like you play. Like, if you don't practice, it's a different thing. Game day different than practice. It just is. So yeah, I don't think he did that on purpose. The only thing that I have for things that bother me is when Bleak did show up at the end and he sees G for the first time, and G says, "I quit gambling. You'd be proud of me. I'd have punched G right in the shit.
Yeah,
you cost me everything.
Yeah, bro. That's something I'll be proud of you. Like, that bothers me that he was just that. I get it. They've known each other since third grade. Blah blah blah. Part of Bleak's downfall is his emotional immaturity. Not letting people go that need to be let go, not making decisions, all of that. But man, that bothered me. Real quick, Rachel, come see about me, save my life. What you doing in that moment? Somebody after a year that you wrote letters to, reached out to, you ain't heard from, shows up at your doorstep 3 a.m, talking about save my life, let's have a son. What's your response?
It depends on if I loved you like that or not.
Oh, so there is a possibility that I can go.
It's a possibility that I could fold if there's nobody else in my life. Even if it was, it's a possibility that it could.
Nah, nigga. She said even if it was.
It just depends. It depends. If you was that nigga to me, like if you was him, Himothy,
Walk up on the porch in your Himbalance.
Hey,
might probably fold.
A year, no contact,
like
no
she
visual,
folded,
no
brother.
nothing.
It depends. It depends. What happened? What happened in that year? How did we get to that place?
And they didn't give us how long he was fucked up, like in the hospital, because they didn't talk for a year, but he was in the hospital for a little minute. So
right. So she probably was going to see him in the hospital. You know, he couldn't talk, but once he got home, nigga, I'm depressed as fuck. I'm in my shit. I don't know. Now, if that's not you, you can get the fuck on. You know, that if you let him, then you got to get the fuck on, because I don't care about that shit. I literally do not care at all.
She might come to the door with the pistol.
Period. that nigga gave me. Hello.
Hey. Rachel said, "I'm gonna shoot you with his gun and then wear his t-shirt to bed."
Oh man,
Rachel ain't shit, man. You are, but you know what I mean. I wish. Hey, could you imagine getting shot by another nigga gun?
This shit's crazy.
Well, it was mine.
So well, yeah. All right. That's wild. Our cultural moments, the whole movie. Any actors from The Wire? No. We had a nice little streak. It ended. Yeah. We had a nice little streak. Soundtrack, the score was done by Spike Lee's father, Bill Lee. Mm-hmm. Which I think he scored his first three movies as well.
Okay.
Wouldn't let that happen to me. I already mentioned my two. I'm not mentioning another woman's name when I'm with another woman, and I am not sniffing your sheets. What y'all got?
I don't know. I guess I could only take the Clark and Indigo. I can't say that because when you've been to Slide in the main and might know about some other things. So it is what it is.
I don't really have nothing for that. Wouldn't let that happen to me.
Okay. Sniffing sheets.
Hey, if you man, listen, I ain't doing that with y'all, man. My dog asked me to help him out. I'm a tip. Shit.
Hey man, we too old for you not to be knowing if with your bro. Just wash your sheets. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not judging you, man. That's you a great friend.
Even that's tricky, man. If she just was there and he just did his laundry and then he washed it again, that's a red flag too. Like you gotta.
And you know what? You know my response is, nigga, you sound like you ain't meant to creep. That's what it comes down to. You sound like you weren't built for life. You know what I'm saying? So just going about your business. Let's see what else we got. We are wrapping things up. School, you got any trivia for us?
No, I do not.
Okay, then. Denzel and Wesley were trained to mimic the playing of the instruments that they play in the film by musicians Terrence Blanchard and Donald Harrison. Denzel Washington's trumpet is played by Terrence Blanchard, and Branford Marcellus plays the sax for Wesley Snipes. Indigo was given away at the wedding by their real father, her Spike's real father, Bill Lee, as I mentioned earlier. Halle Berry was considered for the role of Clark Betancourt.
I could see it.
Yep. The reason she turned that down is because she did not want to participate in the sex scenes. But she was definitely the first. I won't say that she was the first choice. I can't confirm that. I know, right? How ironic of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she's the first choice, but she definitely turned it down.
Interesting.
Clark Betancourt had an issue with that as well. Not an issue, but so this is her first film. This is her introduction. Yeah. And she was confused on the process because she auditioned like 6 times for this role. And they weren't telling her anything, but they kept giving her information. She got to the point where she was like, am I building this character for somebody else? And then Spike Lee, his answer was, she got cast, obviously. And Spike Lee was like, yo, like, Halle Berry auditioned 5 times for Jungle Fever. That was her first movie. Like, it kind of is what it is. Like, that's kind of the process. So I thought that was interesting. Permission to use the film's original title, A Love Supreme, was denied by Alice Coltrane, the widow of John Coltrane. She said it had too much profanity in it, but they could use the song. They just couldn't end the movie after it.
Okay.
And in addition to playing one of the bookie's enforcers, Samuel L. Jackson reprises his role as DJ Senor Love Daddy in voice only. If you hear the radio, you can hear his voice on there. So that's a little bit of the trivia that I have for you. The time has come, ladies and gentlemen. Too high, too low, just right. The average viewer rates this film 6.7 out of 10. School, too high, too low, just right.
Too low. I got it at 7.5.
Too low, 7.5. Rachel?
Too low, 8.
Not mad at it. Not mad at it. Actually, you know what? I told myself I'm going to stop being boring. I'm going 7.7. Yeah, I've been doing everything off a 0.5 rating. I'm just going to give it what I really feel. So I'm going 7.7.
Okay.
7.7. I think that's it. I think we covered everything we wanted to, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody out there listening to us, specifically me, because I'm still a little bit congested from a cold that I've been getting over from this past weekend. So I feel it. I don't know if it comes out through the speakers, but I can hear it in my voice. So hopefully it's not too much of an annoyance as you listen to this episode. But Ray, School, anything else to add before we get out of here?
Hopefully y'all got some more better.
Straight up.
Hey, this is a great film. This is one of Spike Lee's, especially cinematography. Like, this movie is beautiful. I think the cinematography was done by Ernest Dickerson. If you know who that is, shout out to you. If you don't, shame on you. This is just a great, beautiful, beautiful movie, man. Speaking
of, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot to mention that Ruth E. Carter did the costume design.
Costumes.
Oh, what a legend.
Her name's been all over in present day.
Yes.
You should definitely know who she is now because of her accomplishments. But
yeah,
she's been around for a long time doing her thing. So I want to shout her out. I also just want to shout out Spike's eye for talent. I just love the fact that this is, and we didn't talk about it too much in the beginning, but this is 1990 Wesley, 1990 Denzel. So Glory had came out, but a lot of the stuff we know and love these actors for hadn't even released yet. So you have that much talent, and it just show like I get. Listen, from an acting perspective, I get why Shadow you rock with him, School. Like I get it. Like he did his thing in every single scene. I ain't going for the dirty macking, but it is what it is. Yeah. But shout out to Spike. You said what?
I said he's a dirty son bitch.
Yeah. Shout out to Spike. Shout out to the whole cast. Absolutely. Shout out to everybody involved. It really is one of my favorite Spike films. Maybe it's a little bit too relatable, but I see a little bit. I can understand a little bit of Bleak's thought process and the ups and downs, and even that downfall. Like, it's not surprising that he ended up how he ended up, and it is sad that it's almost like he didn't want it. Like he was forced to take it. Like if it was up to him, he wouldn't live that life. He wouldn't have Miles and Indigo. He was forced, but we've mentioned all of that. It's a beautiful movie just to break down. I like the ones that are enjoyable to watch, and you can have full-fledged conversations, a la your Malcolm and Marie, stuff like that. So we appreciate y'all as always for tuning in with us. We will be back with another episode next week. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the We Got Y'all feed. We appreciate y'all. Y'all be cool. Y'all be cool.
Bye.
And that's a wrap.